Welcome to the Biopharma Business Intelligence Unit, where symbolic integrity meets strategic clarity. At BBIU, we go beyond the headlines to decode the structural forces behind global biopharma, AI, and economic realignment. If you value precision, verification, and symbolic depth, this channel is for you. Subscribe now to access our weekly briefings, dossiers, and intelligence reports, and consider joining our institutional tier to unlock early warning systems, custom metrics, and exclusive strategic insight. You're not just listening, you're entering the future of epistemic intelligence. www.biopharmabusinessintelligenceunit.com.
T-DXd plus Pertuzumab redefines first-line HER2 plus therapy, quantitative supremacy, structural risk, executive summary. The DESTINY-Breast09 trial establishes a decisive new baseline in metastatic HER2-positive breast cancer. At a median follow-up of roughly 29 to 30 months, trastuzumab deruxtecan, T-DXd, combined with pertuzumab extended median progression-free survival to 40.7 months versus 26.9 months with taxane plus trastuzumab and pertuzumab, THP. The hazard ratio for progression or death was 0.56, 95 per CI, 0.44, 0.71, P0.001. NEJM DUE 10.156, NEJM OA 250868. Online ahead of print, October 29, 2025. The confirmed overall response rate reached 85%, compared with 78% for THP, and complete responses doubled, 15% versus the 8%. Interstitial lung disease or pneumonitis occurred in 12% of patients, including 2 fatal cases. The THP arm recorded ILD, all mild. No new safety signals emerged. The T-DXd monotherapy arm remains blinded until the final analysis. BBIU structured analysis clinical layer. With a median progression-free survival exceeding 3 years, DESTINY-Breast09 introduces the longest disease control interval ever observed in HER2 plus metastatic disease. This challenges the traditional concept of chronic palliation and approaches a functional cure window. The main structural vulnerability is pulmonary toxicity. Interstitial lung disease occurred in more than 1 in 10 patients and caused 2 deaths. Such toxicity transforms follow-up into an operational discipline. Baseline imaging, early symptom education, and same-day corticosteroid initiation are mandatory to preserve therapeutic safety. Regulatory and HTA layer. The dataset meets FDA and EMA criteria for accelerated or priority review, but long-term approval and reimbursement will hinge on overall survival confirmation and demonstrated control of ILD risk. Health technology agencies are likely to demand formal cost-utility models incorporating toxicity management expenses. Precedent from DESTINY-Breast03 suggests an approval window of 6 months, followed by intense HTA scrutiny. Economic and strategic layer replacing THP with T-DXd plus pertuzumab increases per-cycle drug cost roughly 4-fold, yet offsets are expected through reduced chemotherapy support, fewer infusion complications, and extended progression-free intervals. From a strategic perspective, the result repositions AstraZeneca and Daiichi Sankyo as the new first-line standard-bearers, while Roche faces accelerated erosion of its trastuzumab-pertuzumab franchise and must pivot toward bispecific or subcutaneous antibody architectures. Budget models indicate sustainability if cost per progression-free month gained remains under approximately $4,000, a plausible threshold for most advanced economies. Symbolic and structural layer DESTINY-Breast09 symbolizes a paradigmatic transition from chemical aggression to molecular precision. The therapy's success depends not only on its cytotoxic payload, but on the epistemic discipline surrounding its use. Within the BBIU symbolic taxonomy, trastuzumab deruxtecan represents a cognitive ADC, a drug whose clinical efficacy is inseparable from the informational infrastructure that monitors it. This convergence of molecular design and epistemic management marks the birth of a new therapeutic class where data literacy becomes a condition of efficacy. Limitations and unresolved domains. Overall survival data remain immature. Final analysis is expected in 2026. Ethnic-specific ILD risk, particularly among East Asian populations, warrants dedicated investigation. Quality of life outcomes were not detailed in the published supplement. Real-world registries with electronic symptom capture are required to validate ILD latency and management efficacy. Operational recommendations. Institutions planning early adoption should establish a dedicated ADC toxicity monitoring board with pulmonology oversight integrate AI-assisted ILD screening within radiology workflows, and train oncology nurses to identify early pulmonary symptoms. Economic planners should recalibrate cost baselines over a 36-month horizon, emphasizing reduced relapse-related expenditure. Finally, DESTINY-Breast09 should be used as the benchmark for comparative ADC frameworks across all solid tumors in upcoming BBIU analyses. BBIU Opinion: The Ethics of Partial Revelation. The publication of DESTINY-Breast09 in the New England Journal of Medicine represents a clinical and statistical landmark, yet also an ethical inflection point. While the reported data show a dramatic numerical superiority of trastuzumab, deruxtecan plus pertuzumab over the long-standing THP regimen, PFS 40.7 versus 26.9 months, HR 0.56, the evidence presented to the public remains incomplete by design. Only 2 arms are disclosed in full. The standard chemotherapy control is reduced to a numeric comparator, and the monotherapy arm remains blinded. This omission is not accidental. It reflects a deliberate synchronization between editorial curation and regulatory strategy, a choreography that prioritizes the announcement of efficacy over the complete exposition of data. From a regulatory standpoint, such managed transparency is permissible, even efficient. The FDA, EMA, and PMDA allow sequential data release during active review to prevent indirect unblinding and to protect proprietary information. From an epistemic standpoint, however, it fragments truth into layers. The regulators know everything, the journal shows what is sufficient, and the clinical community sees what is narratively powerful. BBIU considers this a case of ethical reductionism, the transformation of scientific truth into a staged performance governed by compliance timing. The results are statistically impeccable, but the epistemic field is asymmetrical. The magnitude of benefit is fully visible, while the anatomy of risk and comparator behavior is temporarily withheld. This controlled opacity may accelerate approval, yet it delays collective verification, the very essence of scientific integrity. In structural terms, DESTINY-Breast09 embodies both a therapeutic revolution and an epistemic compromise. It confirms that the chemotherapy era is ending, but also illustrates how modern oncology discloses breakthroughs in fragments, subordinating moral completeness to regulatory order. BBIU's position is unambiguous. Significant does not mean complete. Truth delivered in stages is still partial truth. The findings of DESTINY-Breast09 therefore carry a dual verdict: clinically transformative, epistemically incomplete. Annex 1, Pharmacologic Profile of Investigational and Comparator Agents. Annex 2, the early clinical program of trastuzumab deruxtecan, foundations, toxicities, and the long arc of evidence. Annex 3, the pharmacoeconomic impact of trastuzumab deruxtecan upon marketing authorization. Annex 4, market, geopolitical, and strategic forecast, 2026 to 2030. You've reached the end of the open section of this BBIU content. The complete analysis, with full data, structural frameworks, and extended annexes, is available exclusively to our subscribers. At BBIU, we believe the real value lies beyond headlines, in the depth of structural intelligence that helps leaders and organizations see further. If you want access to the complete archive and future reports, join us at BBIU and take part in the next level of analysis.